I'm in this boat too, where it's like I watch people's content and I'm like, man, frick, I can do that. You know, like.
But yeah, man, I appreciate you being here. Grant Owen, my friend, who we are, I guess, now just becoming friends. Hopefully. We'll see where this goes, I guess. Another one of my internet buds that we're going to get to know each other over the course of the next hour-ish. I appreciate you being here, man. You are a marketing agency extraordinaire, social media connoisseur. You got some hilarious content, which we need to get into.
So I make about $20,000 a month as a professional tickler, and I really just want to scale this thing and see how far I can take it.
Let's do this.
Your work has taken you alongside people like Dave Ramsey. I've seen some funny shorts you've made with others, and dude, you got some cool stuff going on. You got a great personality. I'm excited to actually get to know the real man, Grant Owen.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me. I'm excited to talk. Be fun.
Yeah, dude.
That's a big intro. That was a nice.
Let me start
intro.
again.
No, that's a nice. That's nice.
Let me do it a little bit less generous. No. Yeah, the schmuck I met online.
That works too. That would work too. That's probably more accurate.
Yeah, but yeah, dude, if you want to just take the first few minutes, as much or as little as you want to share in terms of your background, your story, just so everyone can kind of get to know where you've been at, where you're going, and then we can kind of go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I've started my business a few years ago. I worked in investment banking for a while. I dropped out of college to be an investment banker, did that for 3-4 years. And then I was like, I want to work from home. And so I tried to learn how to be a developer. That didn't go out really well, but I did get a job working for a company as like an engineer, like QA engineer. And then worked in IT for 6 years as like project manager and stuff. And I started like this entrepreneurial bug that bit me. And I was like, I really want to do something there. And so I started moonlighting, and then I started looking at side hustles, and that exposed me to all this sorts of content world. Cause it was right around 2020 when there was so many people were like blowing up in social media with TikTok and stuff of just being like making content about business. And so I consumed all of that stuff. And then I realized I started learning about the people behind the content about that. And I was like, that seems really cool. And then as I started studying it more and more, I was like, I feel like I could do that. And so I don't know whether it was like arrogance or just like naivety, but I was like, frick it. I'm going to go from where I'm at, which is IT, to like being in marketing. And then I just kind of bulldozed my way. And I actually, it was really funny. Like it probably wouldn't have worked out. One of the first couple people I worked with was like ended up being like a really great case study. And that gave me the confidence to be like, oh, I'm actually really good at this. And then I got a bunch of other case study stuff that was like, oh, I really am. And then a few years later, I've traveled all over the country. I've filmed with tons of different people. And I bought my first camera, like almost a year into my business. I didn't even own a camera. And I was someone that was shooting videos and making content for people. I didn't know how to use a camera. I didn't know, I just was like, I feel like I understand frame. I feel like I understand what people are trying to do with personal branding. I feel like I understand how people are trying to make money from this and the ways to leverage this. And so, yeah, I did that. And so far we've been alive for about 2.5, 3 years.
Awesome, dude. I love it. And I love the ability to shift and pivot and not feel bad about it. Like some people might say like, what do you mean that path has no correlation to that path? And then you chose this. And it's like, why can't you just pivot and feel free to, let me try something new.
I worked in investment banking, and it was like, it really was like The Big Short.
That's what she said.
And so I was like, I was work for like 12 hours a day, and I worked like both on the corporate investment side, and then I worked on the trading side. And I was like, I don't like anybody. I'm looking at like my bosses, and I'm like, I don't like their bosses. And I was like, I just don't like the trajectory they're going on. And then I moved to IT, and I was like, this could be so nice and free. And then I realized it's just like, I don't know. I didn't like that either. I got tired of it after 6 years. I was just like, this is just too much. And so maybe that's my personality. I don't know. Maybe 6 years from now, you'll see me and I'm like, I'm really into like music or something. Probably not, but that's been the thing I like about business is that I set the goalposts. And so as long as I control like what the game is, it stays exciting and stays fun.
100%. Well, that's so important, right? It's funny. So I had a similar realization when I was in the military, where I started to look at the people who were ahead of me, and I was like, well, I I don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want their income. I don't want their lifestyle. I don't want the strip clubs on the weekend. I don't want all the alcohol. I don't want,
Yeah.
not that that's everybody, but I saw the infidelity, the divorce rates, the suicide,
Yeah.
the mental health, the this, that. And I was like, why am I trying to go down a path that leads to a destination I don't want to go to? I can Google my salary for the next 50 years if I stay this path. That's depressing.
Yeah.
And then I had that, but it's funny. So I don't know about you. I want to maybe get into this. I didn't have that entrepreneurial bug my entire life. I just never knew anybody that was like that. I never had an example. And it wasn't until I got out of the military and I was like, what the heck do I do? And I my first little business, my little side hustle when I first got started was taking my old Star Wars toys that were in the basement and I would chop off their limbs and then like glue them back on with clay and like paint them and make them look weathered. And then I got into like, Star Wars guns and ships and eventually I made some guy's Bandai kit that was like 800 pieces and I used oil paints and a blowtorch. Dude, I made it look spectacular. I'm gonna pop it up right here so everyone can know I'm not just making this up. But then it got to the point where I realized that's a hobby, not an actual business, and then things snowballed from there. But did you always have that spark growing up? Because I didn't, and I kind of wish I did.
I mean, I would say I'm ambitious, and I was not ever really made for school. I did fine in school. I got A's in school, but my whole thing with school is like I wanted to cheat the system as best as I could, and so like I was doing I was doing homeschool like cyber school before everyone was doing it in the last decade.
Nice.
I was like doing it the first iteration, and back at that point, like for example, you had all the teachers and professors and stuff, but I would get 3 attempts at like a chemistry test. And after the first attempt, they give you the answers. They say, these are the correct answers, the wrong answers. And I was like, so I just knew I was like, I don't have to learn a single thing. I can just fail the first one and do it 2 more times and get an A. And so I did that with all of school. So I didn't really learn anything.
Wow.
I would just figure out like, what is the way I can beat the system so I can do the least amount of work possible and get the most amount of stuff done. And I realized like life penalizes you for that usually, but in business, like you're rewarded for that. Is to find like how can I achieve the most possible by putting in the least amount of effort? How can I systemize this so that I can get to this end result faster than other people or just beat out other people when everyone else is putting in a ton of effort? And I was like, that has always been a part of me. And I also like I do love the the agency model. For anyone wondering, you don't really make money in it. There's not many content agencies that make a shit ton of money. Just doesn't really exist. But it's an awesome loss leader, and you're able to leverage it to learn a bunch of stuff and like meet a bunch of people. And so I've traveled all over the country on other people's dimes. I've learned ridiculous things about becoming a millionaire on other people's dimes, and I've learned the ins and outs of how so many 8-figure people, 9-figure people even run stuff. And I haven't had to pay a mastermind fee for that. And that's pretty awesome. And so I think there's so many different things where it's like, it's not drop shipping or teaching, info guruing where I can just like pretend like it's a passive thing. It's a very active thing. But the perks of it is that like I've learned a ton. And if you're really great at building product too, then that's when you start making a lot of money.
That's a good point. The guys I work with right now in personal branding, I was asking them when I first started working with them, like, why don't we do content? Why don't we do people's social media? And they essentially were like, it's so much work for so little return. So we'd rather white label that to another company if a client needs that. Because it's so much. And I've done a little bit of that myself. My first business was kind of like a social media agency. I've done people's content. I've done copywriting. And I do that for myself now too. So it's like, goodness gracious, imagine having to do that every day, all the time, professional content. I mean,
over the past 2 years, we posted 16,000 videos. That's
good
a
for
lot.
You, man.
That's so much.
I'm not wearing a hat, but if I was, I'd take it off for you.
And if we didn't get hundreds of millions of views, that would sound really depressing, right? Like it's like it's like you can say we've gotten 100 millions of views, but it's like, well, it's also because we've got so much data and we tried so many times and failed so much to then like succeed on certain things. And so like you just learn a lot from that. And I think like that's where you build a mastery. I think there's not a single my hope is that in the next 5, 10 years, that knowledge is still going to be applicable. That's not like there's a bunch of stuff that's going to be replaced by AI, but like I feel like that mass psychology stuff never really changes. So knowing that, I feel like it's so interesting because it's like I could look at anybody's profile and be like, I know exactly what it would take to get 99% more views next month comparatively to last month. With like I can tell you in like 30 minutes, and I feel like that's a thing that I hopefully will never stop being valuable.
Yeah. Speaking of which, let's talk off camera, and you can tell me
Yeah,
about my profile.
for sure.
But dude, you're right. That's and that just shows your mindset as an entrepreneur. How many people would hear what you just said and be like, oh, wait, so there's not a huge return financially immediately. So why the heck would I? They're missing the whole point of everything else you just said that I'm picking up on.
It's perspective, right? Like we've done $1 million, sweet. And that is a lot of money to some people, and it's not a lot of money to other people. And so, I think someone in my space asked, it was like Grant Cardone and Alex Hormozi both said something along the lines of like, you're driving a car that's like kind of like only meant to go 1,000,000 miles. And there's some cars that are only meant to go 1,000,000 miles. Like I can optimize this thing and we can be rocking at 20, 30, 40% margins, but it's still only going to go 1,000,000 miles. There's some things that can go 8 figures and beyond. Agencies, unless you're an ads agency that's tied to revenue and you're working with e-commerce brands, it's just really hard to. But you individually can make a great amount of money. I just don't think it's the type of thing where I wish I had that perspective. I don't regret anything, and there's a reason we keep doing it is because there's so much opportunity with it. But you have to make it your own thing, and that's inaccessible to a lot of people. Like there's not a lot of people there that clicked on this and are like, do I want to start an agency or not? That's not really a question. Do I want to do content or not? That's probably more relevant. And hopefully, I would love to talk about I would love to hear your feedback with your audience of like what you think personal branding is looking like right now. And because I have a lot of thoughts on that. I have a lot of thoughts on what people are doing wrong, what people are doing right.
Yeah, well, it's funny. So there's a perfect question for the segue I was already kind of thinking about. The guys I work with right now, this company is called Brand Alchemy, but our CMO, he came on actually fairly recently as like a third partner in the company. He was Alex Hormozi's only in-person employee for the first few years of building out Gym Launch. I believe it was Gym Launch, yeah. And then Derek, another really cool dude that we're working with right now, he was one of Hormozi's guys as well in sales at the time. So Nolan and Derek worked together back then. Now I'm working with both of them directly, which is pretty cool. I literally every Tuesday and Thursday, me and the other sales girl on our team, we get to have some kind of private time with those guys and sharpen our skills. And then I talk to them daily. So it's I feel blessed to be able to be around some cool guys that have worked directly with juggernauts, and they themselves are like juggernauts in my eyes. That being said, Nolan was talking to me recently about the reason he shifted from his own marketing agency. Like he ran a 7-figure marketing agency after working with Hormozi. And he's like, yeah, I pretty much walked away from that completely to now get into this personal branding space, because he was talking about this wave. I forget the way he said it more elegantly than I'm going to say it, but there comes this time where like the wave of marketing and ad dollars gets so high and things are so expensive that nobody's spending money on any of this stuff. And then the currency of personal branding gets higher as the ads get more inaccessible. So in this space that we're in right now, traditional advertising is actually, it's still useful if you want to get some quick eyeballs and this and that. But if you want to build legitimate, ongoing, engaged, high-performing, what's the word I'm looking for? When they high conversion audiences, then you want to build an authoritative, trustworthy brand. And this has become just so clear. Like, you know who Chris Bumstead is? CBum, like Mr. Olympia?
Yeah.
So I need some new, I've talked about this a few times. I need some new protein that I'm looking for right now. And instead of me searching a bajillion brands and a bajillion ingredients and trying to figure it out, I know CBum just came out with a protein powder. He uses it, to my knowledge. And if Mr. Olympia uses it and I like him and I trust him and I follow him on Instagram, then I might as well buy it and try it. And if I like it, it just increases my perception of CBum in my mind. Oh, his quality of product matches his quality of character. Therefore, he is now elevated to, like in totality. But if I buy it and I'm like, oh, this is shit, or this is super overly fake sweet, oh, this is just like everything else, now I'll be like, oh, CBum just sold out just like everybody else to get a brand out there. So I find your brand and the perception of you is what helps build the authority for then people to now go into your product suite and into your offerings and trust you to buy it. But then, like you said, if you're a good product guy, that like you need to fulfill the expectation, especially if you have a really quality brand. And when those two things meet, I think that's when magic happens and people get elevated into like godlike status in society's eyes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and I think there's a lot of people that are good at those individually. There's not a lot of people that are good at both of those together. There's a lot of people that are good at product and they fake it on the organic trust side. And there's a lot of people that are really good at trust and they don't really understand what to do on the product side. They don't really know how to shape offers. They don't really know how to shape something that's valuable for people. And so there's a disconnect on those two things. And that's where you get, like the Ty Lopez.
Knowledge.
Great at one, really bad at the other, right? And you have there's a bunch of people you can name that kind of fit that category where it's like you can't say he's bad at getting eyeballs. He's been doing that for 2 decades. He's the YouTube ads guy, right? And so
he was probably one of the first that got me into that space. Gary Vee, Ty Lopez, those guys.
Exactly. And so like there's very few that do both really well. And I think people underappreciate the only thing that makes it difficult now is that they can communicate from the other side of this mountain, like the playbook. This is all the stuff you need to do in order to do it. And the downside of that is I think a lot of people copy the wrong people. They copy other people's moats and they say, oh, well, I saw this person do this. Therefore, if I do this and I'll duplicate it, I'll try to adjust it a little bit, but I'll just do it. I should get the same result because I'm at the same quality. And that's just really not true because yes, you can think about it from the mass psychology perspective. Like I understand why this worked, but like, for example, I can't just throw Alex Hormozi like thumbnail styles on my videos and expect to have the same click-through rates. Just because of all the reasons you're saying, like there's trust, there's brand, there's authority. And so you can't duplicate the same packaging. You can't make the same content and have it come from different voices and expect both to be noise when one is like a voice and the other one is pretty much white noise.
Yeah. Yeah, it's this is an interesting thought. I'm curious your thoughts on the solution then, right? Let's say I'm the product guy. I'm so good at product and you are the guy who's so good at trust and building an online brand. What's the solution for both of us? Is it coming together and building something with the person who is your opposite, so to speak? Is it bringing on white label services? Like, how do you master both, do you think, in your experience?
It depends. It depends on what it is. It depends if the product is info, if the product is literal product. Like it depends on like, am I trying to sell coaching? Am I trying to sell a course? Am I trying to sell a physical product? Am I trying to sell a SaaS? Those things require different things. I think it's probably easier, not easy, but easier to make a valuable product that theoretically people would want, or at least would benefit people. Like with AI right now, it's really easy to make this like MVP of a tool, a SaaS product tool that's like accessible and definitely serves to a certain function for someone. That's pretty easy. I think it's a lot harder to get an audience to trust your voice and buy whatever you tell them to buy. I think that's very difficult. And so if I had to value one over the other, I would value that because at the end of the day, let's use, I can throw big names or small names. I'll throw a smaller name out, which some people would really love, is like Daniel Dallin. Daniel Dallin, probably relatively unknown. He probably has 100K followers on Instagram. I think he has like 150K on YouTube. And he created essentially he has a couple different businesses, but one of them is this like glasses business he launched. It's like this blue light lenses. And they crushed the blue light lenses. That launch demolished because he pushed it. And he was really great at creating a style of content and creating almost a trend on YouTube that felt accessible and felt copyable, but really wasn't. And I think that moat, like I think what I'm really trying to get down to is like you have to really be able to make this moat that separates you from another person, because anybody can use AI. Anybody can do a podcast on Riverside. Anybody can hire an editor. Anybody can spend the time to make a studio in their house and like record content. So what is your differentiating factor? Because uh what's like when you are competing for the same eyeballs as Imangaji, right? Like how are you going to be different and how are you going to be better? That is like a more appropriate question to ask. Whereas I think a lot of people say this person does this. A lot of people start podcasts and they say Stephen Bartlett does this. And so I see what Stephen Bartlett does and I'm just going to do it. And if I do it for a long enough period of time, I'll be successful. And that unfortunately nowadays is just not true. You can exist for 10 years doing the wrong things and still not make any progress.
Yeah, that's a very good point. A lot of people, when they say, oh, just work hard and be consistent. Well, what are you working hard at? Like if you're punching a tree, you're not going to get very far no matter how long you punch it, besides breaking your knuckles. But if you had a chainsaw, like, or if you had even an ice pick, still a better tool in your fist. And so I always, what's the expression? I think Abraham Lincoln said, if I was given like 7 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend the first 5 sharpening my axe. Right. But then
Yeah.
the idea though is he already has the right tool. Now he's honing that skill, that tool, so that he can do the job more effectively. You can work hard all you want, but it has to be doing the right things.
And there's no silver bullet with it. I mean, like this is not a crazy statement, but like you've probably seen the same thing I've seen on IG, which is that like the super landscape aspect ratio videos.
Oh yeah, the tiny ones, yeah.
The tiny ones, dude. And I hate them. They're so dumb. But anyway,
what's up with that? Gary Vee keeps doing it.
Yeah, there is a creator out there. I'm not sure who, but there is a creator that was like, oh, this is my opportunity. This is my chance. And so they make a bunch of those and their page does blow up. That will happen. And then there's going to be a bunch of other people that are like, well, this looks cool. I'm going to do it. It looks like a trend. And they also do it. And maybe they get marginally decent results. Maybe it's slightly below par, or at least it's at par. And then a year's going to go by when that style of content's not relevant and it's a different style of content. You know, like last year there was something where it was like 0.5 second videos were a thing.
And then it keeps repeating.
And it keeps repeating because that was like a glitch and sweet, this is the algorithm and we got it. And I'd be like, it'd be a shame if your account blew up from that.
Right.
That'd be a shame because like, sweet, you got 50 million views from that. What does that actually convert to? Does anyone actually trust you? And what do you actually represent? And so it's interesting because like there is no silver bullet of like this style of content, this look, this feel. It's like, how do you get people to watch your content and listen to your voice for your voice because they trust your voice? That's like, that takes 5+ years.
Yeah. I love this topic because I'm going through this right now. I mean, you are too, right? I guess we're both in the process of building. I think you're probably a few steps ahead of me in some sense. But the point being is, yeah, I was just having this conversation, and since I started this podcast, everyone and their mother is trying to give me advice on what I should do or how I should do my thumbnails or how, and some of them are knowledgeable and actually have good feedback, and some of them are just telling me what they would want to see, not necessarily what converts, right? So that being said, I'm curious to know your thoughts because everyone tells me, some people have been telling me, Josh, you got to jump on all these trends. You got to do these dance videos, whatever it is, get the eyeballs from the trends, and then people will look at your organic content. And I think there's some merit to jumping on a few trends to maybe, a trending audio or something. But what have you seen in your experience thus far in this space that lends to, and maybe it's everything we've just been talking about, which probably it is, that lends to a consistent growth, long-term audience retention, people that want to stick around and be part of your journey versus 50 million views from a really, really weird ultra wide landscape, part of a movie, part of an Avengers movie or something.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's the unhelpful answer that everybody gives that is accurate, which is that you have to test a bunch of shit and then double down on what works, right? That's unhelpful. I think the better thought process and the better advice is stop approaching your content selfishly. Frankly, I think so many people that aren't able to get views, and I put myself in this category too. Like if I struggle to get views, so much of it is that I put out a video and I'm like, please, for the love of God, watch this because I want to be seen. And so it's like so very me focused. Here's something about me. Here's me. Versus I think the best content ever does a great job of putting every onus on the viewer. So like, for example, metrics that we look out for. This, if you want to go viral, these are the 3 metrics to care about. You want 80% watch time on your first 3 seconds. You want 40% watch time on the entirety of the video. And you want 5% share ratio. Now, the first two kind of work out together. They work pretty closely together. If, everyone talks about hook's important, hook's great. Yes, it is. 80% of people, if I have 80% of people staying after 3 seconds, that means I have a really solid hook. And the odds of them staying for 10 plus seconds, right? I have to rehook them and do all this other stuff, but the odds of them staying for 10 plus seconds dramatically increases. So if I have 40% of people watching the entirety of the video, that means that good things are going to happen. The thing that no one really cares about, that everyone should actually care about, is the 5% share ratio. 5% of the people watching your content need to share it with somebody else. So that means we have to make content that says who is going to share this and who are they going to share it to. And that kind of leads you into like this like tribal mass psychology thing, which I think is really helpful, but no one really thinks about it this way. But like, for example, there's some niches that people tend to share in. And the issue with like the business, I wouldn't even say like podcaster, but just like the business personal branding space, the marketing space, is that like we don't make content with the idea of this is supposed to be shared. We make content with the idea of like, I want someone to convert into a follower, or I want someone to convert into a lead. And when you focus on like slightly more entertaining content, you realize, okay, let's just say this, like there are 5 tribal pillars: health, wealth, relationships, politics, and religion. Those are the 5 tribal pillars. Every viral piece falls into one of those buckets. Now, business owners, real estate agents, gym owners, all these people, they tend to focus just within the wealth niche, in the niche of business, in the subcategory of real estate, or in the subcategory of gyms, or in the subcategory of marketing, right? So like they go into the overall tribal bucket, but they hit the niche of the niche of the niche where the overall TAM is like really limited. Versus, let's say, for example, like I think relationships is probably the easiest one to make viral content in. So like, just because that's the most the most shareability happens in that niche, where it's like, for example, if my wife loves to send me content about like house cleaning stuff, humorous reels where it's like a husband and wife, the house is in disarray because of the kids, and it's some like memey humorous interaction between the couple. She'll send that to me, and that doesn't mean it's going to show up on my feed, but the odds of me watching the entirety of that video dramatically increases.
Right.
Because my wife sent it to me. It's not because it showed on my feed. It's because it got shared with me. And so it's like my wife
and
is
now you're commanded
me.
to watch 100%
Yeah,
of it.
it's like, and I'm commanded to watch 100% of it, which, by the way, makes that video do better, because it's like algorithmically, right? It's not like the secret. It's like people are watching this. It's people are staying on the platform. People are engaging with it. People are laughing about it, and it's going and happening in DMs. So like, like I had a video I haven't posted in, I think like, I don't know how long it's been, maybe a month. How long has it been? A few weeks, 3 weeks ago, right? And I get about, I think my current like last 30 days is like 4 million, because I have this one video that I posted months ago that has 500,000 shares.
Nice.
Which is like sick, but I made a video, again, like using this kind of framework. I made a video saying like, the only thing keeping friendships together are meme group chats. And I talked about what goes in a meme group chat, and I did it as like a fake podcast. I totally staged it, 100% staged, right? And I just posted it as like a trial reel. I didn't even post it to like my page. I just posted it as like a trial reel, and I think it's at like 3.5 million. But it's like the cool part about that is like, everyone has a friend, wants to have a friend. Everybody is in a relationship, wants to be in a relationship. Everybody has kids or has parents. And so like, if I make a video that says like, every, you had a bad dad if, right? Like that premise is really accessible. Or like, you're a bad parent if, that's very accessible, because either it's going to affirm me. I want to listen to see, am I that, or was my parent that? right? And then it also has this shareability where if it's funny or if it's true, I know exactly who I'm going to share this with because, oh, maybe my spouse will, my co-parent will be like, they also will agree to this. So that's just like, if people looked at their content less selfishly and they just looked at it from that lens of how can I get someone to watch this and share it with somebody else? Who are they sharing it with? Why are they sharing it? That will always lead people away from like me. Like no one cares about my opinions on things. No one cares. I don't have that many followers, right? No one cares about my daily routine. No one cares about what books I like. No one cares about any of these things about me. No one cares about my views on politics, religion, anything. They care about themselves. And so I'm making videos for people that are sitting on their toilet, and my job is to entertain them. And I think if more people approach their social media like that, they'll be shocked and they'll be like, okay, well, what's the then? How do I make this brand authority trust? Worry about the brand authority trust in a second. If you're not able to get views, it doesn't matter if the people that are not seeing you trust you or not. Like it's as if we're like making this like website, and it's like I don't care how nice your website is if you can't get customers to it. Like it doesn't it doesn't matter how cool your image is. It doesn't matter how cool your brand is. Like your job is to get people to interact. And you bet your ass that Alex Hormozi is thankful he posted that video about, his secret Chipotle order that got 7-8 million views, had nothing to do with business. But you bet your ass he's grateful because there's a reason he keeps posting that every 3 months. He posts the same video every 3 months. It's always that one, and it always pops off.
It's hilarious.
That's my thought. I'm going to get off my soapbox now, but I do have deep thoughts about it.
Yeah, well, hey, man, you're the guy for these thoughts. That's why I wanted to talk to you. Dude, yeah, frankly, this is just, rather than you charging me for a consulting session, I just said, hey, get on my podcast, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. No,
that's the point of it. That's the goal. That's the reason.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I want to learn from my coolest friends. That's kind of the point of this whole thing. But, this is so interesting because I think there's that weird fine line between you being your authentic self in your content. Like me on this podcast, for example, I want to be as authentic as possible and raw and this and that, but I also have to be mindful that if I'm going to clip this up and post it in a certain way, it still needs to meet some of those criteria you're talking about. So I know I've been working on this too. And even if I post my gym content, like because for me, it's kind of like faith, fitness, business. Those are my three pillars, really. But whenever I post fitness stuff, because I'm not the most jacked guy in the world, and I don't think I'm the most like hardcore, intimidating guy in the world, I decided to lean into my humor a little bit more with my gym content. So I'll post like, it'll be me doing an exercise, but then there's a little me cut out in the corner where I'm like, hey guys, today we're going to be talking about how this exercise is functional in the real world. And every time I do that, it's like, it's a ridiculous scenario. It's like, okay, it's the end of the world and we're storing food and we got to do this exercise. It's like, the reasoning I give behind it is preposterous, but it's because I want to create something that's a little bit more, entertaining, shareable.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to,
and that's a good perspective. I think like, cause I'm just gonna say it, like I went through a phase. I didn't want to believe this. I went through a phase where I was like, I'm going to do day one. I'm going to post every day. I'm going to give tactical value, right? And I'm going to be like, I'm going to show myself as an expert on whatever it is I want to talk about. I want to show that I'm really good at it. So when people interact with my page, they're like, look at Grant. He's a cool aesthetic. He seems cool. He seems great. He seems like he's really smart about the stuff he's wanting to talk about. I think I had one video get like 90,000 views. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. The video was all the comments were from Indians.
I think you guys really underestimate us. We can have a lot of spice.
Like every single one of them. Because the people that are on social media looking to see how to start editing or how to make content or how to work with people on that.
Right.
They're from
India.
All
the people DMing me right now from India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan.
They're saying I can make your content great. And so that's all of the audience. I'm like, I don't want those people to see my content. I want to be the person. And so I realized I was like, okay, well, for me, like, who do I want to work with? Who are the people I want to work with? I want to work with like the Dan Martells. I want to work with the Dave Ramsey's. I want to work with the Alex and Layla Hormozis. How do I work with these people? And I realized, okay, all of them, if you scroll, you can kind of see like who likes what kind of content. And I was like, all of them are liking, Kill Tony. They're all liking comedian stuff. And I had a friend that took this very similar approach where he had the same thought. He was like, how do I work with these people? All of them are liking luxury watch stuff or luxury car stuff. And so he was like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to interview people about luxury watches because I'm guaranteed to
the New York
be
Street
associated
guys.
I mean, this is before. This was like Ryan McGinn was doing this stuff a long time ago, but like it was, that was his thought process. Is like, if I talk about people's luxury houses, luxury cars, luxury watches, chances of me having this video be seen by other people that can afford this stuff is much higher. And I think that's a better perspective of like, who do I want to watch this?
Interesting.
Make content for that person and what's the medium. If you want, Indians to watch stuff, then by all means make content about video editing and how, and AI and how you're using AI for video. Like by all means do that. But me personally, like I want Western American like business owners to see my content and think that I'm smart at what I do. And so that's like
what you're saying is I got to bring Teddy Boldasar on my podcast so I can talk watches.
No, but like like, and if you're making clips or something like that, like what is innately interesting? That like luxury watches fits in the wealth category. So like, for example, like you can make a video. It's like, what's the best watch for someone that makes $50,000 a year? What's the best watch for someone that makes $250,000 a year? What's the best watch for someone that makes $1 million a year? What watch do they need to buy? And then a person might give a range of opinions, and they might say like, a Casio G-Shock. Like, you don't even have to be a watch guy. I don't have to own watches. Like, I'm not wearing any watches. You don't have to have a Rolex to be like, you can, if you're making 110,000, buy your first Rolex. Guess what? People are gonna have opinions. They're gonna be like, well, why would you buy a $12,000 Rolex when you're making $100,000? That's like a stupid decision, right? It's like, why would you spend 10% of your? But again, that's within the wealth category, accessible, opinionated, and about other people. And I think that's like, I think more people should be thinking that way through their content of who do I want to watch this and how can I get them to gamify this so they'd watch it.
Yeah, dude, these are such good points, man. I'm like taking notes over here, just like, okay, shoot, I should do this. Oh, I'm literally the whole time you're talking, I'm just brainstorming.
That's good though. That's good. I mean, like, because my guess, Joshua, is that you're like, my guess is you and a lot of other people. I'm in this boat too, where it's like I watch people's content and I'm like, man, frick, I could do that. like, oh, that one got that many views. They have all these people. Dude, I could have done that. And
yeah, you see that clip from that podcast the other day where the woman was being interviewed and she was like, "Don't love your job." No, she was like, "Don't work your job, job your work." Or what? No,
love your job, job your love. Don't job. Yeah.
Don't love your job, job your love. Don't.
I love that.
Yeah.
And there's 8 million clips, and I'm like, oh man.
Yeah. Yeah, and guess what? I had the idea of like, oh, it'd be funny if you were like the podcaster, like producer, and like you make a video. And then I saw someone do that, and I was like, that's really funny. That's really great. Again, like there's so many ways and angles to do things. I do think that if you're a funny person and you don't use that, you're a dumbass. Like that is a moat. Being funny is a moat. If Chris Bumstead, like the extremes are like Sam Sulek is gonna win no matter what because he's like basically killing himself in front of like the world. Right, and being like, this is how many steroids I'm doing. This is all this stuff. This is what's really painful about it. Look, check out all of these, like all of my, pimples and stuff that are as a result. The odds of me living till 40 is dramatically, like he's doing this. That is an extreme thing that's just innately entertaining.
And then every gym influencer I watch talks about Sam Sulek too.
Yeah, but like 99% of people are like not going to have that. They're not. Our lives are not that interesting. Right? Like, so then it becomes about like, okay, well, let me do imposter syndrome. Well, what's interesting about me? I like gym stuff. What do I do? That's where it's like, you look at a great example of that would be like Megan Nunez. She blew up. She has like 1.4 million followers. She blew up in 2024, I think. And she would make these videos and she would be like, okay, bitch, is your man humping you from behind because of this? All you have to do is do this instead. Like, it was like these crazy videos that are super inappropriate, but hilarious, right? Like, and she was just like, it wasn't like she was this really great fitness influencer. She was just like louder, older, funnier. And her account, I watched it go from 30,000 followers to 1.4 million followers. And it was because she was like, she would do like dieting videos about like, here's what to have for your diet. And she would have her microphone be a dildo. That's just insane. That's an insane thing that no one should do unless you have the balls to do it. And guess what? If you do have the balls to do it, guess what? You're probably going to get views. You're probably going to do pretty decent.
Well, this is something I know I've struggled with. Probably a lot of people do as well. Is I just started this whole actually posting content journey like less than a year ago. And at first I was like editing in the Instagram app itself and I wanted to rip my hair out. Then the second video was iMovie because I was like, wait, how do you edit? So then the next video was like CapCut Lite, and then the next video was CapCut Premium. So the point is, this has been a learning year for me. The first bunch of videos were all ridiculous and stupid and had no point. And I got no views because I was a nothing account. And then I shifted into kind of a little bit of a business stuff. And then now I think it's probably a little too much. It's all podcast clips. And so I'm actually trying to figure out right now. I have some guys I'm working with to try to automate that a little bit more, where I can just give them this podcast and they can make those kind of clips for me. So I can have my time back to do some of the more like, my comedy gym stuff or my other stuff. Because I still work. I work full time. I had like 15 meetings today before this, and there was no time in the day to edit my own videos, and now it's going to be like 6-7 o'clock by the time we're done this. And then so the point is like, I know I have to be very careful with my time, as do most people getting started in this journey. So I'm trying to figure out that blend of being organic, being authentic, being myself, letting my humor come out, but then also it's you gotta like find that groove and then stay consistent in the groove. Like for Kill Tony, for example, I've watched them for a long time. Nobody ever knew who Kill Tony was that I would talk to. And then they had a few clips that went viral, or then Shane Gillis came on and did Trump, and Adam Ray did Biden. And
I go to school at the University of North Georgia.
Are there black people around there?
Not a lot at the school, but there are some.
President Trump, I noticed you grabbed your microphone there.
Say it. Whatever you're thinking, say it.
What a great institution.
Then Adam Ray had 8 million characters, and now it's like Kill Tony's like like, you don't know Kill Tony, like you're dumb if you don't know it. And it's but they were just so consistent in their format for so many years, and because of a handful of clips, now it's the biggest thing in the world, right? And because now they're at the mothership, I believe, like Joe Rogan's spot in Austin. So the point being is like, I think where most people probably struggle the most, I probably am right now, is figuring out that perfect blend of your unique content and then the consistency in that. And that's where I think I'm still adjusting. I'm still getting there.
I would say, something I think about a lot is the medium is the message. The medium, doesn't matter what the message is, the medium is the message. So like in the 90s and early 2000s, late night TV shows were big. People actually cared about what happened on Leno, right? People actually, there was actual drama about, Conan O'Brien, right? That was actually a thing, and people actually got their news from, Jon Stewart. And they actually would watch CNN legitimately, right? And nowadays we're seeing that small podcasters are completely outperformed. Like Mel Robbins has so many more views every single episode than any episode of the Colbert
Jimmy
Show.
Kimmel.
Yeah. No, but like it's not like a
Kimmel
knock. It's
has
just like,
no ratings. His ratings are in the trash.
But no, but it's like, it's more so like, and it goes both lib and dem, like both. It doesn't matter. It's just like that medium, the audience isn't there anymore. And so I think that applies faster in short form and faster on TikTok and IG. You will see that like in 10 years, the moat's going to be live. You're going to have a lot more bar stools with daily programming, a lot more Pat McAfee, where it's like it happens at 12:05 and it's clipped in on ESPN at 12:30 on their TikTok, right? Like that, you're going to see that happen in more industries a lot faster, especially as more individuals become a voice and then those voices get picked up by the networks. So like once network money comes in and says, we like whatever the Dean Withers, whatever the Democratic voices are, they stop being just on TikTok by themselves and they actually start being on CNN. Like you're going to see more of that money going into those places because those are the trusted voices. And guess what? It's going to end up being still live stream. It's still going to be call and response. It's still going to be like, like whatever the format they do that works for them, that gets views, is going to keep crushing. For the average person, let's just say like you and me are the average person. And I think what you're getting around to is really important, which is like, hey, I have limited time. I don't really know how to edit. And guess what? I don't want to spend thousands of dollars on an agency, and I don't want to spend thousands. I don't want to have to manage my own content. And I prefer to have an editor, but even then, like that's a lot. how do I actually make this work? I will say right now, what's really fortunate is that the medium is UGC. Like, more people should not do podcasts and do UGC videos. They should focus on hook. They should focus on a banner text message at the top. They should be succinct. They should make their videos under 35 seconds. And they should just talk to their phones while they're on the walk. And they should be very emphatic and very specific with their points. I tested this recently. I was like, my friend made a software that's like a yap generator, and I was just testing it. And so it's like, you put in like your opinion, and it gives you like 5 hook prompts, and then gives you like a little bit of a format. And so I was like, let me just test this and see what's up. And I did it, and I was walking down the street, and it was the middle of summer, and I was like, no one actually wants to cut their grass. No one. I live in Florida, where it's like 100, like if it's 95 degrees, but it feels like it's 115 with humidity, right? And it's like no one actually is out here during the day being like, I can't wait to cut my grass. And so I put that in, and it gave me this hook that was like, what did it say? Because I posted it. It was cutting your grass is just announcing to the neighborhood that you're broke. And so I did that, and I posted it. If you cut your grass, you're basically announcing to the neighborhood that you're broke. No one actually, like, I was like, my opinion was like, no one actually wants to do it. It doesn't cost that much to replace. Frankly, if it's your time and your energy, you should not be focusing on that. It's like $35, and it's going to get that done better than if you were to do it anyways, right? I posted that, and it got I'll just say it got a lot of traction. It did not get a lot of love. It got a lot of hate. I got like 1,000 likes and like 6,000 hate comments and like death threats, and people calling me retarded. And it was tough because it was like, and it was all people that were like blue collar. Like, I was like, this could be great. And business owners do get it, but like everyone else, it's like, I have a $12,000 lawnmower. You're telling me I'm poor? It's like, that was the effect. And there's a bunch of like TikTokers. I think it's like Justin Danger or something. He like reposted it and was like, "You're a dumbass." He's I just got ripped. I got ripped to shreds.
It was another India comment situation, but different people.
Yeah. Well, but it's also like the people I probably want to like me don't like me. That's like, it was like,
because you know what it is, because your editing is so good and your delivery is it can be so like serious that they don't know that it's a joke, essentially.
Yeah, but I mean, I just seriously, I took 2 minutes to film. I did it with my phone. I did it in the TikTok app, and I did it with TikTok captions, and it still got hundreds of thousands, actually millions of views comparatively with all the people that like reshared it and stuff. So like that, I think that type of accessibility is for everybody, and the moat is no longer like, can I get an editor or do I need this nice setup? It's like, this actually hurts me. Like, if I made a video talking to my camera right now with this setup for short form, I would get less views than if I just talked to my phone.
Interesting. And you think under 30-second mark is ideal?
I think it's easier to go viral if you're over 20 seconds, but under 40 at the moment.
Okay.
Now, if you're a really great communicator, like anybody can make 9 really great sentences and say them strongly enough, to do that. But if you're a really great communicator, obviously, like I want to be able to talk for 50 plus seconds, a minute plus, right? And be able to hold someone's attention. But I found that like if over 35, that's kind of like the cutoff of like easily makeable for anybody.
I found this for myself. I started like a real men series on my Instagram, and I mean them to be 30 seconds. And then I look at the timestamp. I'm like, oh shit, it's like 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
And the first few, I was like, yeah, let me just post it and be raw and real. And there's those like 3 loyal followers, who are like, I loved it. It was so good. I'm like, thanks. Appreciate you. But then the thing got like 400 views total. I'm like, okay, well, Well, is it worth it to cater it to those 3 followers, or should I maybe try to condense it so it can be to 300,000 followers?
And my opinion is, if you're not making content to be seen by 1 million people, why are you making content? I think that's a hot, like, people don't like to hear that. And I know a lot of like personal brand people that like are like, yeah, it's like your Facebook friends and your sales from your Facebook. It's like, they almost treat it as if it's like an MLM. And it's like, if you text everybody, then sure, someone's going to want to buy from you. It's like, why don't I just figure out how to reach hundreds of thousands of people And then your problem of how do I make money from a smaller portion of that gets a lot easier.
Mm.
If I can I posted like, just to prove my point, like, I made during the Hormozi's launch. This sounds like, I'm really not trying to sound like a jackass. I'm an expert on some things.
I'll put it right above your head, not a jackass. I'll put it
I know. I'm an expert on some things. I'm always still learning. The whole point is like that what doesn't change is like volume and all this stuff. It's not, I'm just saying like I want to disrupt this thought that it's like this algorithmic like luck, or it's this like thing where it's if I do the right format or say the right thing, it's going to work. It's like just don't be selfish in your content and think about what would be entertaining for somebody else and make content for yourself. Like I made Hormozi was doing his little like live launch, got 6K from me.
Is that when you asked about the feet tickling business? Or
well, that's when I was watching that. I was watching that video. And I was like, I just thought to myself, and I was texting people, and I was like, wouldn't it be funny? All of them like, that's dumb. And I was like, I don't care. I'm still gonna make it. I was like, I was asking my wife, I was like, would this be funny? I didn't think it would do great. I just didn't care. I don't care.
I still don't know. Is that did you actually call them, or is that
no?
Just
I didn't.
Your editing?
That's just me. That's just
okay,
me. Yeah.
Figured.
And it didn't take me that. It took me like a little bit. It took me a second, but like it wasn't. Basically, what I did was I found a conversation where Alex was talking to like this 20-year-old kid about an agency or something like that. And then I just was like, what's the weirdest business I can think of? I started another one just because I wanted to, because he put out another video. I'm gonna do another one where I'm gonna pretend like I think I want to do like I make really tight t-shirts or like really tight muscle shirts. And I'll be like, I'm just gonna ask him if he wants to invest in my like muscle shirt t-shirt business.
Amazing.
And as the video progresses, it's just gonna get closer and closer to his nipple. Like, and just like see how I just think that sounds funny to me.
You should
and if I do it right,
the company should be called like Gym Crunch or something.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know.
Super
I was
similar
like,
to Gym Lunch.
Yeah, I was like, whatever. Either way, like that'd just be funny to me. But I will say, like that video, I got a text that he saw it and laughed at it. Layla liked it. Like it was like the people that I'd want to work with.
Yeah,
they shared it. And if I wanted to run retargeting ads and convert, that would be like whoever watched 75% of that video is probably my demographic.
Right.
The average person that likes, sports or, podcasts, or like they probably didn't watch that. But the average person that knows who Alex Hormozi is and would think that's funny, I'm like, they'd be into that. So
I saw your one Dave Ramsey video too. You showed Dave some of the clips, right? And he was laughing and he liked it. So
yeah, he's super chill. And I think like I was filming. I was so bummed. I was filming. I flew out to Tulsa last week to do a podcast with Matthew McConaughey.
Nice.
And he canceled like 2 hours before. It was such a bummer. I was like, I flew out here for nothing. I was supposed to do him and Chris D'Elia, and it was like,
dude, I literally just bought Chris D'Elia tickets 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, I was supposed to do it, and they both canceled like last minute, and I was like bummed. But I was gonna do a bunch of those too, where I was like gonna ask. I was just gonna take clips from like Modern Wisdom and put myself on the other side and ask. That's funny to me. I don't care if it's funny to someone else. That's funny to me. And I just realized like if the only way I'm going to be motivated to make content is if I'm like, what's funny to me and what do I think is accessible to other people? And if I act too big for my britches and I start second I get scarcity mindset is like, I want to make content that's like, here's how you blow up your personal brand. And I'm like, dude, no one would watch that. No one wants me to say that. No one's going to trust me if I start saying that.
Yeah. Okay. First of all this is magic. I love this. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, man. But let's do it. Let's do a quick speed round here. I want to know if you had one social media only per niche or per thing that I'm about to tell you, and you had to put 100% of effort into only one, what would it be? So for example, if you wanted to be a podcaster, talking head video, and you could only choose one format for the video to be on, what would you choose and why?
YouTube.
For the shorts and for the long form?
For everything. I think YouTube, to be honest, pretty much any form of content, if you have 100,000 subscribers, that's more valuable than 1 million followers on IG or on TikTok.
Interesting. Okay. So even if I said like business niche or this niche or that, you'd still say if you had to choose one, typically it'd be YouTube?
There's not a single niche where people, I mean, Google says this, the more time that people spend with you, the more content they consume, the more they trust you. And so I'd rather have 10,000 views on a YouTube video than 100,000 views on a Shorts video.
Wow.
Every single time.
Well, that was a quick back and forth speed round because apparently the answer is YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, for real, I think, and it doesn't matter for every single, like, I think a better question is if I'm selling if I'm a business owner and I have a different product to sell, which one do I value? Like, if I have a productized business where I have a direct product to sell, I want to be on TikTok. That's the valuable thing. If I have coaching, depending on who I sell to, I'll probably want to be on IG. But it could depend. And if I'm targeting a very specific clientele type, I might want to be on LinkedIn. So it's like each one is dependent. Not every single one YouTube is best for, but I think YouTube is, if I had to be bullish on any platform, like I think YouTube ultimately will win TV and streaming. And so if you are the biggest YouTuber, you are the biggest person in the world. I think MrBeast, iShowSpeed are the two biggest people on the planet, and people don't even appreciate that yet. Somehow, Shopify is still only having to pay $500,000 for an ad placement when they should be spending the same amount of money that people spend on the Super Bowl, and they will in the next 10 years.
Yeah, I heard something a while back about MrBeast. His ad, I don't know what the lingo is on this, but essentially the cost per ad became so high that he had to start. That's part of the reason why he started his own companies, so he could kind of sponsor his own videos. Yeah, because it just became unrealistic for a lot of companies at the level he's at.
Yeah,
and it's a good problem to have, I guess.
People don't blink an eye at like 14 million for a Super Bowl ad, but like Super Bowl gets seen by like 60 million people. MrBeast's average video gets seen by like 100 million people. So it's just like that doesn't make
internationally too.
Yeah, that math doesn't make sense. So I think right now you see like Netflix just announced they're going to be investing a lot of money into podcasting. So once you see podcasting shift to like streaming, and once you see TV programming kind of die down, and like Fox shifted to an app, CNN shifting to an app, Paramount's been trying to grow. All these people are shifting to the app-based stuff. I think if you are a video programmer and you have an audience and you can garner 500,000 views every single time you release content, there's a limitless amount of ways that you can make money.
Interesting. It is going to be an interesting shift over this next few years, I think, especially with streaming, I think, being way more popular in the last maybe 2 years than it ever has been. I never even thought anything about streaming. I just thought that was only for guys on Call of Duty and the Machinima channel. If anybody remembers.
Yeah. And it shifted away from, it used to be like Ninja and those guys. Yeah. And that used to be a big thing. And now it's like Kaisenet and the way, like, now that you see a lot of musicians, a lot of like, it's become a publisher, like, do your thing. Like, you'll see Matthew McConaughey show up on one of these because he has to promote his book. So he's doing a podcast tour. And so if his publicist is smart, they're going to say, we want to get you on Kaisenet and just have you sit down and talk to him. So that's why, like, there's savvy people right now. Yeah. But that's
like, I've seen
the
streams
medium
with
is
him.
The message.
Yeah, well, yeah, like I've seen streams where it's like Drewski, Kevin Hart, LeBron James, and Kai, and I'm like, what is this combo? Like, but it's the thing now. It's like this integration of worlds where, oh my god, it's almost like if DC and Marvel collabed. It's that level of people are like, oh man, is that so and so with so and so?
And that's so big world, and like, I mean, I sound like Gary Vee, where I'm like, this is gonna be big in a few, like, who knows? But like, and what's accessible to the average person? I'm just saying, there's a reason YouTube is so hard to grow on, and it's so demotivating, because guess what? You do get 400 views on a video, and that does suck, right? And it does take years, and it does take outliers, and it takes volume to a different tier, which that's why I say like the platforms like TikTok or IG are easier, because guess what? I can film on my phone and post it in 2 minutes, and if it goes viral, sweet, and if it doesn't get views, I'm not really pissed off by it. It didn't really take me a ton of effort. I didn't feel like I had to get editing. I didn't feel like I had to get a thumbnail, right?
Right.
I can fail on it, and it feels less public. I think those are more accessible for like the average business owner starting, or the average person trying to do something on the side. That makes more sense.
Yeah. I'll put your affiliate link for VFriends in the description.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. I got you, bro.
Hard vouch. Hard vouch.
Quick little shift here, I think, because I want to know. One of the things I find always interesting is, as an entrepreneur, as a high performer, as a guy who's doing tons of work, you're traveling for work. I know you got a family. I think you have we have one kid. I don't know if you have multiple.
I have three.
Just three
I have
kids.
3 kids.
So 3 kids, a wife. You're busy. You're traveling. You're a man of faith, right? You have some beliefs that also guide your life and values. Do you think, based on where you are now, based on the level of business you've grown to now, have your beliefs and your family, I'm trying to think of how to ask this in a way that actually makes sense. I guess, do you think you would have done things differently, taken more risks, if you were doing this same kind of work without a family, without all the responsibility? Or do you think you've made the same level of decision making, risk taking, all that jazz? Because I know a lot of people make the excuse, I already have a family, and I have a mortgage, and I have this, and so I can't start something on my own, or I can't whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen it happen on both ends of the spectrum, and so I fit in the paradigm where having kids makes me want to work harder, right? Like my why is more. So like I was talking to somebody. I had one of my friends actually. They found out like he's very successful in his own right, but one of his competitors was having a kid, and he like celebrated because he was like, sweet, they're going to be distracted. I can hustle harder, and they're not going to do as well. And I was like, I'm sure for some people that is true, but I think for also some people, like it. I was just talking to someone, and he was texting me from the hospital, asking for business advice, as his wife just pushed out their 7th kid.
Oh, 7th! Wow.
Because his thought process was like, I can't not make this work. Like,
right.
It's not an option. Like, I'm not content with like $250,000 a year. I need to be making closer to 7 figures. I have to. Like, I'm looking at the math of what I have to provide for 15 years from now, and it demands making $600,000 plus a year. Like, that's what like the life I want to build, the stuff I want to do. And so I think like those are the 2 options. I was making music and working in corporate for a long period of time before I had my first kid. And having my first kid was the first time I was like, all right, I don't want my wife to work, and I want to make money. And then the only reason I started a business is because I did mental math calculations, and I said, okay, if my wife is still not going to work, and not because I don't believe in wives working, it's because like she wanted to be a mom, and so I wanted to let her be a mom. And so like if she was not going to work and not going to pick up another side hustle, I needed to make, I think, $120,000 a year. And I was like, I think I was making 105 or something like that like in corporate. And I was like, well, but still, that's not going to get me anywhere closer. I need to find that $15,000 more. And I just thought, okay, I'm more likely to get it if I start this business than if I
sell
don't.
blood.
Or sell blood, or yeah, do so. I was doing side hustles like for the last year of my job. I got, in a 2-year period, I got 3 promotions, and I moonlighted for a development agency for 20 hours a week, and I did about $500K in a side hustle in Amazon sales, and I didn't see a lot of money. I saw like $50K of that money, but I was like,
right.
I was hustling, and I was like, let's do this, right? Like I was really going for it. And I just was like, I think I'd rather just build one thing, focus entirely on it, and just be that person. So for me, it made me more passionate, and have each kid adds a new tier of stress. Something I've realized more recently is that there's a point I hit. I think I realized it very like specifically last year, where it's like my kids don't really care how much money I make. My wife doesn't even really care how much money we make. Like they feel the fact that I'm not spending time with them. And so earlier this year, I was traveling 3 to 4 days a week filming with people. I was all over the country, multiple countries, and I was everywhere, and it was great. We were making money, and that was the best time of the business, quote unquote. But like my family felt that, and so I made a decision in May, and I was like, I'm not going to travel for any other clients, and any clients that require me to travel, I'm going to have to unfortunately drop, just because I don't want to. I don't want to leave anymore. I'm kind of burnt out. I'm kind of tired, and my wife was having our 3rd kid, and I was like, I just want to take months and not travel and just say no to anything. And I felt that. But yeah, my kids don't care about how much money I make. They care about how much time I spend with them. And there's a point where I realized growing this business is more so for me than it is for them. And so I have to weigh those two things. I'm not really great at that, but I have to weigh those two things. And I don't think I think there's a lot of business owners that are really great business owners, but really bad dads. And I don't want that to be said about me. I don't know if that's going to
Yeah.
happen or not about me, but like my mission, if I look back and I have, I'm not going to show a picture, but like I have this is a Polaroid that my daughter just took on Saturday of like her in a princess outfit, and I'm like, I have a bunch of them. I have a bunch of like I hear them outside, but I have a bunch of stuff I just keep in my desk. I'm like, if I've messed that up, um, what's the point? Why would I have a lot of money in my bank account if I can't celebrate the time with them right now?
I love that, man. I love that so much. And that honesty and that integrity and that clarity around those topics. I think a lot of people miss that, right? They're so obsessed and fixated on the grind. And a lot of guys, I think too, moving from single life into married life. Like I'm single, I'm 30. I'm working my tail off. I don't know what a day off means at this point. It's not that I want that. I would say I'm ambitiously lazy. I'm working hard now so I can do nothing later if I choose to, knowing that I won't. I'll never do nothing. But the point is, I would like the option to do nothing
for sure.
A period of time, or to, same as you, have my wife not need to work if she doesn't want to, be able to spend all the time with my kids. So I always encourage young guys, especially, like choose the life that you want, then find people who live that kind of life and reverse engineer what it takes to get there. And then until you have all the responsibilities of marriage and everything else, like just bust your ass daily and work and build discipline and build your good habits. And I'm still doing that. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. I don't think I'm the peak, of that statement, but I'm working towards it because I want to be able to, when I do meet my wife, God willing, soon, sooner than later, I want to be at a place mentally, emotionally, financially, and otherwise, physically even, where I'm capable to be, a priest, provider, and protector, where I'm strong in my faith, my body and health is in a good place as much as I can control. And then financially, I can take care and provide. And so it's cool to hear your perspective coming from a young guy, but doing well.
Yeah. I wish more people thought like that. I chose I wasn't like a negative thing, but I chose a path that was like, we got married I was 20. I couldn't drink at my bachelor party. Right. So it's like, that was like Canada. But my best man was my brother-in-law, and he was becoming a pastor. And so he was like, you're definitely not gonna be able to drink. And I was like, dude, chill.
That's funny.
But I think like, I don't know. Like, I chose a path that like demanded a different thing for me. And so I look at some guys that are in their 20s, or they're even like, some guys that are in their 20s and they're like kicking ass and crushing it. And I'm like, dude, that's sick. And I also see some other guys that are not. And I'm like, maybe someone will wake you up. And if that's not what you want to do, that's totally fine. But for me, it wasn't like, I felt like I didn't get a kick in the ass until I had my daughter. And then once I had my daughter, it was like, now I actually want to try. I think my wife felt it too.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it's perspective as well, right? Like a guy in your situation, I'm not saying you, but a guy in your situation could look at a guy like me and be like, oh, I miss the independence. But a guy like me, I'm envious of your situation. I would love to, you know what I mean? So it's like, I think it's always important to see where you're at and be grateful for that season, because that season will then inform the next, and not to be envious or.
It's not necessarily like an envy thing. Like, I don't know I definitely wouldn't be doing this if I didn't have a wife and kids. I definitely wouldn't be doing this. In fact, I probably would be that guy. Just my personality, I would probably be that deadbeat guy. That was just like, and I would probably play like the guys I don't respect right now. I'd probably be that guy. And
add me on PSN. We'll play COD.
Yeah, exactly. No, but like I would be like, I want to stream. I'm not going to stream, but I want to stream. I don't want to, like, I would probably be that guy that's like very aspirational. And I think something about like, it's not that I'm selfless. I'm definitely very selfish. And I think it's not that I'm good at this. Like, ask my wife and she will tell you of all my failures and all the areas that like I need to be growing in. But if I have to choose something, I'm like this, it's extremely motivating to have a family. Like, and I don't think I'm not doing it in a way that's like, I want to be 50 and free. I want to be busting my ass at 52, but at the same time, like I want to just do it for a different reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it, man. I've always heard you need a why that makes you cry. And if you're just doing things for the sake of making money, that will never be a good enough motivator long term to keep you going. In the nights where you just want to stare at the ceiling and cry your eyes out for no other reason than the fact that you're overwhelmed or like.
I will say, I mean, I don't agree with that in the sense that like I think Alex Hormozi, there's some people that are like that. There's some people that are built like that. Like Alex Hormozi called people the week after he made $100 million in a weekend. He called a bunch of people and said, "Did you see that? You didn't have anything to do with that." He hate called people. He left a voicemail on my he sent a text to my friend that was like, "Why are you telling people that you were a part of this whatsoever?" A guy that he hadn't worked with or talked to in like years, and he was like, "Did you see this?"
Wow.
And I think there's some people that are just built like that. I think there's some people that are fueled by like, I want to prove people wrong. And I think honestly, if you're going to be a billionaire, that's kind of what it takes.
Yeah. Well, I think then it's in that case, I think you're right, but I think it's more than just money. It's kind of like it's I want to prove everyone wrong. I want to succeed. I want to win. I guess, maybe I'll clarify. The point I was making was when the pursuit is simply material and there's not like a deeper meaning behind it, then
100%.
it's because then what happens when you get the nice car? What happens when you get, that's it? You're just done pursuing. Like guys like Hormozi will never stop. Guys like Sam Sulek, like they'll never stop. And that's, I think, what makes them kind of crazy in a sense, but like the good crazy that makes a billionaire, the good crazy that makes these social media icons. Mr. Beast, I would say, is like crazy in that same way. Again, I'm using light quotations on the word crazy, but but you need that to get to that scale of infamy, or maybe not infamy, but fame.
Yeah. 100% agree, and I just know that that's not me.
Yeah,
that's not me.
And
I just want to make memes. I just want to chill.
I'm not sure if it's me, to be honest. I always said I want to be wealthy and not famous, and as time's gone on, and as I feel like, I don't know, man, I feel like I have a calling on my life that God's put there, that it's gonna require a lot of eyeballs on me to be able to become this leader that I feel like I want to become. So I don't know what that means. I don't know. Is that fame? Is that fame in a specific niche and industry where nobody else knows me, but everybody here knows me? Is that, I don't know. So that's the part of the reason I'm even doing this, is to kind of figure it out. You know what I mean? Just put it out there and figure it out and grow these skill sets.
I will say, I don't think people should make content unless they're trying to get 100,000 followers. I think if you're trying to just get a few followers or just get some content pieces out, I don't think it's worth it. I think
wasting your time.
You're wasting your time. I think you should try to get 100,000 followers. And it's easier if you math it like that. Like you talk about how like you look at a person's life and you reverse engineer. Nowadays it's easier to do it, reverse engineer that path, because it's different for YouTube. So like YouTube, there's a little bit closer of a ratio to subscriber follower count. Like if someone views your video and they really, really love it and there's an appropriate call to action, they might subscribe. But for Instagram and TikTok, like people just are not following anymore. So women on average are getting like 2,500 followers per million views, and guys are getting like 750 to maybe 1,500, something in that range. So when you have that math and you're like, I need to get 100,000 followers, you're like, okay, I need to get 100 million views.
Yeah, that's
and
a
if
lot.
I get 100 million views, then I will get 100,000 followers. That's just an easier, like, and then the question then becomes, how do I get 100 million views? And that's just like an easier thing to like overcome.
Right. Well, it's interesting, and maybe we can kind of wrap up on this, because I feel like there's so much more I want to ask you and talk about, but who knows? Episode 2 in the future, people.
Yeah.
For now, though, I guess maybe we can wrap up on this. The amount of, and I've worked in social media marketing myself, working in branding now, dealing with a lot of back end stuff. I don't know as much as you in terms of some of the metrics in the back end, but I have maybe my finger on the pulse of a lot of this stuff, and then some kind of adjacent metrics. That being said, something we can both agree on, I think, and this kind of blows my mind, is the amount of fake followers, fake engagement, the people who essentially don't show likes on anything other than the first 3 posts. And then it's like, I have a guy messaging me relentlessly who has 400,000 followers and like 0 engagement after the first 6 posts.
What's his name?
I'll DM you after, I forget. But he's verified, he looks massive, and he will not leave me alone. I'm like, dude, if you really had this many followers and you were this wealthy, whatever, you would not have the time.
It's not him.
To
First off,
me.
it's not him DMing you. It's
well, yeah, of course. Yeah, obviously. And by the way, I've been the guy in DMs. I train setters right now. For one of the things I do is I'm training setters to be in other people's accounts to pretend to be them. Welcome to every kind of outreach online.
Yeah.
Although, hey, if I reach out to you, I'm looking at the camera. If I reach out to you as of now, it's still me. I don't have a DM setter yet. I say.
That's awesome. Yeah. Don't get me started on that because I think I can. I'll say people. I hate Jason Wojo. I hate him. Jason
I'll look him
Wojo.
up after.
He's a scumbag. There's a bunch of people in this category. I shook hands with Sean Mike Kelly. Actually, I'll say I didn't shake hands. I intentionally did not shake hands with Sean Mike Kelly. And Sean Mike Kelly just hit me up and wanted me to be on the pod and wasn't.
Dude, same.
Got my number
for 10 grand.
Was like, he didn't. He hasn't. He's supposedly wants me without charging me money. Supposedly,
okay.
I made it to. Supposedly, I made it to a different tier. I don't know, but like that. But like, it's actually so easy to see. It's so easy to see. So like, there's the engagement things, which those are so tough. Where it's like just AI bots responding like positively to comments.
Yeah.
That
even Hormozi's
stuff,
page ripping with AI bots on his Instagram.
Dude, that's so tough. And I don't think Hormozi pays for that. I don't think he does,
so
but I think it's like it's someone's being like, if I comment on Hormozi's, the odds of me being seen in my like people are they gamify it like that. I will say like it's so obvious the people that fake, and it's so obvious the people that don't. And almost every single guru that you're following has had someone buy for them about 300,000 followers. Brad Lee, it's not organic. He has a lot of real followers, but let me just say this: like, I'm not going to hate on Brad Lee because he's your guy, and I like Brad Lee. He's a good guy. He has 1.4 million. It is worth asking. Why am I getting more views than Brad Lee? That is, dude, it's a worthy question.
Do me a favor right now.
I'm not saying he's bad, but I'm saying like it's a worthy. Why am I getting more views than Ryan Pineda? That's a worthy question.
Go if you're on Instagram right now. Type in Fontaine the Realtor, Fontine, Fontaine the Realtor. You'll see we have mutual friends. She's verified, Asian girl. Like if you look at her engagement numbers for 40,000 followers, mental. I just had her on my podcast, and then I posted a clip with her from our podcast the other day, and right away it was like 9,000 views, which for me is a big deal. I haven't gotten that many, and it was just essentially her audience clicking onto it.
Mm-hmm.
But like, look at her engagement for the amount of followers. I told her yesterday. I texted her. I was like, dude, I'm envious of your engagement numbers, and she told me, she's like, just piss people off. That's all I try to do.
Yeah. Well, and I will say, female is easier.
Sure, yeah.
I'm not going to say
all the LinkedIn accounts that I train people to run, they're all female accounts.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, LinkedIn for females is like a gold mine, dude. Especially if you're targeting like middle-aged guys. Oh my goodness. If you're a female targeting middle-aged guys, I would kill to run a get on TEDx or like learn how to be a keynote speaker, female led, but you're like targeting the males. That would dominate, because you can just do outbound DMs and it's gonna crush. But
pretty much what I do.
Yeah. I think, like, to be honest, the amount of people that are fake is massive. The amount of people that don't notice is massive. But at the end of the day, like, I don't know. Real people see it. Real people know who's a rat and who's not a rat. Real people respect. Real people don't like can think you're scum. And I look at the people that are very legit and have been doing it legitly for a long period of time. They always win. There's a reason why Caleb Ralston is having his shining moment right now, because he's winning, and he did it the right way. He's doing it the right way, and he's crushing. And there's a lot of people that are adjacent to that I think, like, they're not going to stop. And I would rather have, Caleb Ralston's 100,000 followers than anyone else's 1 million followers. And I think he's trusted more. Yeah. So that's my thought.
I mean, yeah, man, I love it. Trust, authenticity, building a brand the right way. I appreciate your insights, dude. We can wrap it up there. And next time we'll have to jump in. Dude, there's so many more topics. I want to talk about faith, family, legacy, all these other things. But, next time maybe we'll just play a bunch of random funny clips of yours and just laugh at it together.
Thanks. Thank you, sir.
You do have a great sense of humor, man. I remember, it's funny. I was thinking about this the other day. I was watching the one the Alex Hormozi one that we talked about with the what was it, like the feet business?
Yeah, like I thought it'd be funny if he was like giving advice on how to tickle whales.
Right. Oh,
how to like do how to tickle, like a tickling business, like a feet tickling business. I thought that'd be pretty funny.
And I'm pretty sure, because I was looking at your profile the other day, just in preparation to talk to you, and I thought about it, and I was like, I think I've seen this organically, and I didn't even know it was you. That's why I was so confused when I was looking at it. I'm like, wait. I thought this was an actual caller that called in, and it was just so well, like it was seamless.
Thanks, man.
So
thanks.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. There's a reason I asked you to talk today, because I really am selective on who I want to bring on here. Even though I don't have the most massive audience, I don't want to just dilute my quality of content because I'm not known yet. You know what I mean? So I appreciate your time, dude. We'll have to do this again sometime. Where can people find you? What's the best way to engage with you? Anything you want to plug, or places you want to point people?
If people want to find me, Grant Owen, at anywhere, and you'll probably see me. And I would love to talk to people if anybody wants help on this stuff. Super fun. I don't have really anything to sell audiences, so I run my business and that's what I do. But my hope is that people would if I could petition anything, it's like it really is accessible. Really just pick up your phone and talk to it. And there's a reason why agencies are losing money, is because the medium is the message. And right now the medium is just like pick up your phone and be real, be funny, be organic. And I think that's anybody that's not willing to pick up the phone and talk to it is just being lame, and they're scared, and you should just get over that.
Fair enough. Cool, dude. Appreciate you. Thank you again.
Yeah, bro. Thank you.